So good morning and welcome to our Living in Residence presentation. Before we get started, I'd like to just go through a few housekeeping items. So please note that we are recording today's presentation. If you miss anything or want to watch more of it afterwards, you'll be able to find it on the UO Future, that's the uOttawa Future Ambassadors YouTube channel. In the next few weeks, you'll be emailed the link for all that information afterwards. Note that this presentation is in English. If you're looking for the French presentation, we have one happening this evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. But you can also visit our housing service booth in the main fair to speak to one of our representatives there in French for now if you realize this is the wrong presentation, or you can speak to them in English or in whatever language later on today. Our booth is open as of 10 a.m. today. Our presentation will be about 30-35 minutes, and then it'll be followed by a Q&A session at the end where we can answer your questions verbally. In the meantime, you do have access to the Q&A pod throughout. So if we do see questions pop out throughout that are relevant to the content that we're sharing at that moment, we'll try to answer them as we go. Otherwise, feel free to keep them for the end and we'll go through everything together. The presentation will focus on residences. So if you have questions regarding anything outside that scope, we'd ask you to keep it for our colleagues at the fair. There are other presentations happening throughout the day. There are other kiosks at the fair, so you can head to our liaison recruitment team, the admissions team, any of the program specifics. So things that don't have to do with residences can be answered by our colleagues in that area. We're going to focus on that today. A few rules as well. So you can use the, it says chat window, but it's the Q&A window to ask your questions throughout the session. You can raise your hand as well, but I do believe you're currently muted for the time being until we open our question and answer period towards the end. We keep the environment respectful for with all participants. Failing to do so, might ask you to leave the presentation. And in the event of any major disturbance that jeopardizes our ability to offer the platform, we'll also leave the presentation. So let's get started. So my name is Erica. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a communications officer for student affairs at the University of Ottawa, which is also responsible for housing service. So I'll be your host in today's presentation, but I will be relying heavily on some of my colleagues as they are really the specialists, the experts for housing. So I'll let my co-hosts introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Michael Wells. I am one of the Residence Life Coordinators for 90U this year. And I use he, him, you pronouns, and I'm happy to be talking with you all today.
Hi, my name is Valerie, and I am one of the housing agent, and my pronouns are she and her.
And that's enough about us. How about you? We'd like to get to know you a little bit more. So we're asking the question, where are you from? We just like to know where you are right now in the world today. We're in Ottawa, Canada. Feel free to use the Q&A box. Now I know you're not asking a question with it, but we'd like to get your answers to that question just to get an idea of where you're from in the world through that box. So if you go to the Q&A, we'd put in the answer of where you're from. Have a look and see. Oh, the Muskokas. Love that. Cottage country. Bowmanville. Oh my God, I said that all wrong. Ontario, Ottawa. We have someone from Nova Scotia. Good morning. Mississauga. Belleville as well. Kitchener. London, St. Catharines. That's amazing. I have somebody from Dubai who says they're French. Sachez que la présentation en français va avoir lieu plus tard ce matin, ou vous pouvez aller parler à nos collègues dans notre kiosque en français si vous voulez. Otherwise, stay tuned and listen to us in English. Got some Newmarket, Toronto, another Nova Scotia. Someone from Cairo, but who's in Egypt right now. That's lovely. And another Bowmanville. Well, thank you guys. Amazing to see where everybody's from. Michael can sort of attest to what that looks like in residence.
Yeah, so Residence is made up of people from not only all over Ontario and Canada, but all over the world. Your communities that you'll have on your floor in your building are going to be filled with people that are from very different walks of life, all over, forming new communities that you'll learn so much from. Not only are you all going to be studying different things, but you all have such different backgrounds, and part of the learning will definitely come from just the experiences of everyone around you.
So just recently, we did a little survey in-house, and we asked students to give us their feedback on their year. But one of the ones that sort of came to mind, and that has to do with sort of that diversity that you see in residence, the diversity that you see at uOttawa, came from Noelle. She was a first-year student who was staying in Annex this year. The highlight of her experience was really the fact that she connected with folks from all over the world. To her, the fact that everybody is from such rich and different backgrounds, but are also tied together and have that communal living situation. The fact that they're all living and learning through the same things at the same time, especially at the specific time in the world in the world right now. So it's just something that we think is important to mention because of how diverse the university is and how diverse the residences are. They really do foster an environment in which students grow personally as well as academically and socially. Let's get another question out to you guys. What will you be studying next year? Again, if you want to use the Q&A to just answer, what program have you been admitted to, or are you hoping to be admitted to shortly? Oh, computer science, nursing. Got an engineer student, I love that. Become JD, that's amazing. That's Telfer as well as law. We have an honors psychology, English and literature, biomedical, another psychology. My God, there's a bit of everything, isn't there? International studies of modern languages, love that.
Definitely when you're looking at the locations of our residences, we'll show you a map of campus shortly, but definitely keep in mind your program and your interests when kind of picking which residence you think would be best for you. For example, our Henderson residence is located near the new STEM interdisciplinary complex that amalgamates the faculties of science, mathematics, and engineering into one dynamic research space, or like 45 Man, which is located right beside the Minto Sports Complex, which is our state-of-the-art sports facility. So as you can see, our residences are located all across campus, some kind of further outside, some right inside. So there's definitely a mix of environments and choice for you to make the one that's best for where you want to live.
Exactly. As you can see from the map, most things are quite close to the center of campus. I would say the only residence that we plan on having open next year that's considered a tad bit outside of main campus is Annex, but it's still on Laurier Street, which is a quick 9-minute walk to the heart of campus. And in itself is surrounded by a lot of shops and stores and things. We'll get to the specificities, oh boy. We'll get to the specifics of all of the residences shortly. But before we do so, we do know that there's a lot of questions surrounding what life in residence looks like during a pandemic. So we did want to address a few of the things that we've both done last year and that we plan on doing next year to ensure the health and security of all students, staff, and the whole community on campus. So last year, we welcomed over 1,000 students to our residences. We opened 5 out of our typical 11. And even though that's about a quarter of our regular capacity, in that recent survey, we found out that the satisfaction of students that are living on campus this year was just as good as in the past years as well. Our commitment is really to offer students a memorable experience in residence, but that's in a safe and healthy environment. And at a time like now, It's never been as important as it is. So we take all of our guidance from Ottawa Public Health, which is the public health authority body here in Ottawa. So we've adapted our policies and the different measures that are in place throughout the years to reflect the ever evolving situation that is COVID. So with that in mind, here are a few of the measures that have been put in place and that will be put in place next year. The first of which is the de-densification. Essentially what that means is that rather than filling our residents to the brim as usual, we, based on public health recommendations, have modified our traditional style double room residences to single rooms. In essence, all bedroom occupancy is one person per bedroom. So no matter what style of rooms, which we'll get to all of the different styles and residences and details, but no matter what style for next year, as well as this year, there's no more than one person per bedroom. Most students will still be sharing a bathroom, whether it be with floor mates or with or some smaller roommates, sharing common rooms, whether it's in their unit or common on the floors. But all in all, we're de-densifying the entire space to be able to maximize physical distancing and ensure that everybody stays safe. Other measures that are put in place, mandatory masks. So outside of your bedroom, so outside of your residence, masks or face coverings are mandatory, and that's a provincial and municipal rule. So in every common area, students, staff, everyone's wearing masks. We are also facilitating the social distancing of students and staff by putting in place directional signage on floors, on walls, decals for which way is the entrance and exit, the capacity for certain spaces like elevators or common rooms, really to make sure that everyone's staying 2 meters apart from anyone who's outside of their household. We've also put in place self-isolation protocols. So in the event of a confirmed or even a possible case of COVID, we're there to support students through that entire process of self-isolation to ensure that there isn't sharing of contaminated germs. We've put in place some policies and training. So certain guest policies align with what the Ontario framework is for our region. So when we're in orange zone, when we're in red zone, for anybody who is not quite familiar with all of the details of what COVID is in Ontario and in Ottawa, we also have a full training that's now put in place. So any new student, whether you are from the region or not, before coming to campus, we go through a training in which we really explain the realities of the region, the realities of the rules and regulations in residence that have to do with that. And our staff is also trained on all that. We've enhanced a lot of our cleaning procedures. So more frequent deep clean of the high touch areas and all the common areas. We've also enhanced the amount of hand sanitizer station throughout residences and throughout campus altogether. And then when it comes to the support that we offer, the activities and the support is reflected in a bit of the hybrid model that even our courses are going to be. So we have, when we can, in-person activities that do comply with those physical distancing requirements, as well as virtual activities to continue to promote the social interactions of our students. The staff and student staff are available to students in residence, both in person and virtually, something Michael can maybe elaborate on a tad bit more.
So life in residence has definitely been different during the pandemic. And despite that, we still have many students living in residence right now. And because the social interaction is limited, our community advisors, or more commonly called CAs, which are the student staff who live in residence, organize and run events primarily virtually, sometimes outside of that, depending on public health regulations, as well as also events run by our campus programming team that allows students to still feel connected with others. For example, this past weekend in 90U, we did cookie decorating, where we handed out cookie decorating kits to all the students, and then everyone hopped on a Zoom call to kind of all participate together safely. And with the kind of measures to make sure everyone is being safe, we have our COVID ambassadors who are doing rounds of the building during the day, as well as the community advisors who are on duty in the evenings in the residence. So there's always people around checking in to make sure that people are following those guidelines that we have put in place.
It is important to keep in mind that some of the health measures that are put in place to keep everyone safe and healthy may be challenging for some. So, for example, when in lockdown, there is a lot less physical and social interactions between people outside of your actual room and residence. So it is important to keep all that in mind when choosing to come to residence, that rules and things that are put in place are meant for everyone's safety and well-being, but they can be difficult to live with and deal with if it's just not something that you've lived with and done before. So everything that has to do with coming to camp, coming to residence and living away from home for the first time during a pandemic is still something to seriously consider on your end before going through with the application portion. And now I'm sure you're asking yourself, which residence is the one that's the right for me? First of all, which ones are even available? To answer that, we ask you, which lifestyle are you looking for? So we have different types of residences that offer different types of lifestyle based on the amount of privacy, things that are yours, things that are shared, setup of the room, what's inside, what's out. So we ask you, what are you looking for when you're coming to your first year here at uOttawa? Do you love to be around people and look forward to meeting a lot of friends? So that's sort of that open, not necessarily needing a whole lot of privacy, wanting to meet people. Are you someone who like people and who want all that, but who also need a tad bit more privacy to themselves? Maybe when it comes a little bit more to your washroom. Or do you prefer a full independent lifestyle? So would you like to have all the elements inside your residence from A to Z to satisfy sort of everything for your well-being? Let us know by answering the little poll that you should see sort of pop up on your screen. Select one of the three. All right, let's have a look. Oh yeah, so we have a mix of a bit of everything. We've got a majority of people who are sort of right in between, who want the social aspects, who want to meet friends, but also need some level of privacy. And that tends to sort of be the norm. A tad bit more people who want that. Quite a few people who just want to be around folks and make some new friends, which is lovely. And then a few who, prefer a more independent lifestyle, and that's also amazing. So let us show you here what that looks like at uOttawa. So those are the three statements that were just there. On campus, for us, that reflects 4 different types of room styles. So we have our traditional residences, which sort of comes to mind when you think about a dorm room. Our traditional pluses and our suites and studios, it's mostly suites. That are right in between. So they are sort of a in-between full apartments, which is our 4th style, the more independent full life one. So next year, we plan on opening 6 residences on campus. Stanton, our traditional, Henderson, the traditional plus, 90U, which is our suites, and 45-man, Hyman, Soloway, and Annex are all 3 apartment styles. All the types of rooms within will be available. It's important, though, to keep in mind that even though we're starting with those 6 residences open for next year, we may need to increase or decrease the number of residences that are open. And that'll depend on how the situation evolves with regards to COVID and all the public health recommendations that are sent our way, and the number of applications for rooms that we receive. So just putting it out there, keeping in mind that this is our current offer, but it could evolve through time throughout the summer. So always to have a look at your emails. The moment you have your admission and you have your uO access and your uOttawa email address, always have a look in that email box to make sure that we're not sending you communications about everything, but in this case, residents. So those are the different types, of rooms on campus. My colleague Valerie will present to you in these visual pictures a little bit about each of the residences.
Yeah, so right now we're going to talk about Stanton, which is one of our traditional style. And like Ithika had said, it is typically what you see or what you think of when you think of your first year residence experience. They have single or double bedrooms. Although this year we have only single available, and you have a communal living environment, which means you would share bathroom, common rooms, and common kitchen with your floor mate. This residence is for an 8 months contract, and there's a mandatory meal plan with this residence. Now we see pictures of the residence. Now Henderson. Henderson is a traditional plus style. Our traditional plus rooms tend to offer a bit more privacy than the traditional, since students have their own single bedroom that are joined together by a shared bathroom that you share with just one roommate. There's the communal kitchen and communal rooms per floor. Again, it's an 8 months contract, and there's a mandatory meal plan. A little fun fact about Henderson is the color of the kitchen. It changes on each floor. So it could be blue, green, red, depending on the floor you're on.
It's really cute.
9EU. So 9EU is the 20-story building located in the main residence complex on campus. It is divided into 2 sections. So you have the high rise and low rise. 9EU being at the heart of the campus and having 20 floors. The rooms on the top floor have some really great views of the city. The building mostly features 2-bedroom suites. Students have their own bedrooms, and you share a small kitchenette and a bedroom with your roommate. So just a few pictures. Okay, 45 man. Now this is our residence style apartments. So we have 3 buildings that the residents offer apartment styles with private bedrooms, private or shared washroom. They have a full kitchen and living room within each unit. 45 man is our first apartment style. It is located at the south end of campus, and it neighbors the sports complex, and it is close to many of the STEM classrooms and labs. Typically for man, you have 1 to 4 bedrooms with private bedrooms or bathrooms. The meal plan is optional for a man, and you get the choice of either an 8 months or 12 months contract. Now we have Hyman Soloway. Students usually refer to this one as HISO. So HISO is located on Laurier, very close to campus. And there's a second cup on the ground floor. It's mostly 2 to 4 bedrooms apartment with private bedrooms, with the kitchen, living room, bathroom. You share that with your roommates. It's 8 months contract, and the meal plan is optional. Last but not least, we have Annex. Annex is located on Laurier, a few blocks down from the main campus. One of the great things about Annex is that on the ground floor of the building, there are multiple businesses and restaurants like Starbucks, Thai Express, Anytime Fitness. For Anytime Fitness, there is a membership that is included in your res fee, and there's a direct access to the gym from the residence building. Annex has some studios, but mostly 2 to 5 bedroom apartments. Annex apartment also have an in-unit dishwasher and laundry. So a little bonus for you there. Their 12 months contract, and the meal plan is optional.
Thank you. So I know that was a lot of information and a lot of pictures for a lot of the residences that we have. So I wanted to show you this, this table. So it does give you an overview of those 6 residences that are open this fall. Keeping in mind a few things. So for example, in the room section, double occupancy, not the case for this year. So usually in Stanton, that would be an option. For this year, only single occupancy is available. And the approximate number of beds is therefore affected throughout all of the residences, but it's more to give you an idea of their size, how big the available space is inside. When it comes to bathrooms, so again, those 3 different types, some bathrooms you share just with your roommates, whether that be 1 roommate or 3 or 4 or 5. Most of the time, the bathrooms themselves that are within your unit are shared with only a few of those people. Shared with floor mates, that's more in the traditional style. So that's the one in which the bathroom and the kitchens are sort of those communal areas on the floor. And a private bathroom is very much so your own in your own bedroom space. Conveniences, so when it doesn't mention a double bed, it's a single bed. Not all of our residences have air conditioning, but most do. Location, if you go back to the map that we showed earlier, most are on the main campus. Even the ones that are outside of the main campus are still within, it says 15 here, but the one that's currently the closest is not even 10 minutes away. Meal-wise, so some residences have a mandatory meal plan. That means that in the price listed here, you have the 5-day meal plan that's currently put there, mandatory because there's no full kitchen in it. There's sometimes, for example, in 9U, a small kitchenette, not quite a full oven and space and fridge and things for everything. So in both Stanton, Henderson, and 9U, your meal plan is mandatory. You have a choice of selecting the 5-day or 7-day, so that'll affect the end price as well. And then the community kitchens are the ones that are on those floors, so the shared kitchen space. In apartment buildings you have, or in apartment rooms, you have a full kitchen inside your unit. And then the agreement specifications, that's the contract duration. So that's also the length in month. 8 months means it starts in September, ends at the end of the academic year, so at the end of April. 12 months means that it's right through September through end of August. So those are good for students who plan on staying in Ottawa next summer. And then the prices are reflected based on that as well. The range that you see at the bottom has to do with the different types of rooms within the same residence. For example, in an apartment, if you're sharing an apartment with 1 roommate versus if you're sharing with 5 roommates, there will be a different price point based on that. So that's why you see a range. You'll find all the information on our pricing, on the amenities, the details, the room layouts, everything on our website. So today we're just sort of trying to give you a taste of it, an overview. But if you have a look online, uOttawa.ca/housing, you'll find our webpage. There's even a page where you can compare residences. So you could filter through what you want. For example, if you know from the start that you want a place with a private bathroom, you put bathroom as private, and that'll only list you out the residences that have private bathrooms as one of their features. So you can have a look in our chat, if I'm not mistaken. We have some links that have been shared or will be shared. You can have a look at our websites for details. So what is included in prices? So I'll let our assignment Valerie friend here talk about what's included.
Thanks. So here's what's included in your fees and in your room. So the furniture, so you get your bed, a desk, a chair, a dresser or armoire. Your utilities are included. So we have electricity, which is your hydro, heat, water, internet, and then the meal plan if applicable. Certain residents will have other furniture like a nightstand, a kitchen table, chairs, sofa, appliances. There's unlimited meal plans are included in the fees for residents where the meal plan is mandatory. Unlimited meal plan means our dining room is a buffet. So you can go and eat however much you want. The fees will vary depending on if you choose 5-day, which is about $5,400 for the span of the term, or the 7 days, which is about $6,000 for the meal plan.
We can maybe go through a few of the questions that have popped up in our Q&A section just before moving on to our next portion. So let's see, if a student's aspiration is to take half the year online at home and half the year in residence, how difficult is it to take a half year residence? How would it be done or applied for? What kind of rooms would be available? I'll let Valerie answer that, but in essence, our guarantee for rooms is for a full year term, or the 8 year.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. So we don't tend to offer just for one term. If you do come in residence, it's a contract for 8 months. So for the fall and winter term.
I would say in a typical year when we have all 11 residences open, coming in for 4 months in the winter has a higher probability of happening. We tend to have some rooms available. In a year like this one, where COVID's a reality, we're not opening all of our residences and we're still de-densifying. So we're still making sure that students have a maximized amount of space. By the winter, there won't be very many rooms available because we will have committed and filled them with everybody who has a guarantee in the fall, and then everybody who doesn't have a guarantee but wants to come on campus for the year. So in a typical year, I'd say it's still possible. In a COVID year, I would say it's highly unlikely that we'd be able to accommodate 4-month contracts. Not impossible. Who knows where life and things bring us? Should we be opening more residences but not being able to fill them? There's a possibility of a chance. But if you are planning on coming to residence for the winter, I would recommend coming as soon as the fall and just committing for the full year. If I'm staying in the apartment style residence for an 8-month contract, would I be able to extend to 12? For example, if I could get a summer job. When we say 8 months in the ones that are available there, most of them aren't going to be open in the summer. So it will be closed. And even though we might be able to accommodate you in the summer in another building, you most likely won't be able to stay in the same room. So keep that in mind if you are planning on finding a summer job and planning on coming to campus for the year. Committing to a 12-month now would be an option. Otherwise, there's the possibility of subletting and going through that process at that point. Val can maybe talk about that as well.
Yeah, so that would be an option to stay longer, definitely with MAN, because MAN offers 8 and 12 months option. If you do choose the 8 months, then you could request to do the 12 to stay longer. We would just charge you the fees for the summer. The fees would be adjusted.
Yeah, keep in mind that the fees for your 8-month contract are different from fees for a 12-month contract from the year. So by committing to an 8-month first and then extending, you would be paying differently than if you were committing to a 12-month from the start. I have someone here who's asking about why we're not talking about Freel, because it's not planning to be open next year. So as of now, again, things can change, but for the time being, the 6 residences that we've listed in the 4 different types are the ones available for the fall 2021. All right, I have a few more questions. We'll keep them for the end. Some of them might be able to get answered as we go here. So we'll take a quick pause with the question and answers and we'll head back to the presentation. So now that you have an idea of the different residences, room types, let me ask you something. Are you nervous about starting university? We'll pull up a poll here again for you to be able to select the answers. There it is. So I know that university is a huge step. It's a new step for most. It's a setup with a new environment, meeting new people. Some people live in a new city altogether. Most of the folks joining us today are from outside Ottawa, which makes sense. So we're asking, are you nervous about starting university? First option is yes, I'm feeling quite anxious, which would have been me when I started university. I was very, very stressed. Somewhat, a little bit nerve-wracking would be your second option. Or not at all, super excited, pumped for the challenge, which if that's your case, super happy for you. you can have a look here at the results. It's a bit of everything, but most are somewhat in the middle. So there is some level of anxiousness, some level of anxiety, some level of nervousness that has to do with starting such a big, important new step in someone's lives. In residence, there's a lot of support to help through that. Michael could elaborate a little bit more on that.
As I mentioned earlier, we have our community advisors living in residence, and they are just part of what we call the residence life team, who kind of oversees the creation of safe communities in which everyone thrives, not only academically, but personally. We very much see the university experience as learning not only about yourself, but also with your studies. So we do have CAs on each floor or every couple floors that are upper year students there to help you through that transition into kind of first year university life. And not only, as I said, are they there to help you kind of grow and figure things out at the university, but also figure things out for yourself, because this is such a big time for change where you're discovering so much.
Just because I'm conscious of time here, I'm going to get to the information about the application process, which might answer a few of our questions as we go. So the first thing to keep in mind when it comes to applying to uOttawa is determining if you have a first year guarantee. So there aren't a whole lot of things in life that are guaranteed, but at uOttawa, if you're a first year student coming to study for the first time here, you have a guarantee of housing. So that means that you're guaranteed to have the space in residence to make new friends and enhance that whole first year university experience in residence. The application process that goes with that is a tad different than the one for students who don't have a housing guarantee, so are non-guaranteed students. We'll go through the details here. Let's see, Valerie, if you'd like to go through the application process and what the guarantee is compared.
Yeah, so to get the guarantee, you must be admitted to a full-time undergraduate in the fall term. You must submit your residency application and pay the deposit by the deadline. The guarantee does not apply if you have already completed more than 5 university courses or the equivalent, or if you have been admitted to a professional program. Students from CEGEP or college, admitted in second year can also benefit from the guarantee.
And I'd like to specify that when it comes to our first year guarantee, you're guaranteed a room on campus. We have a space for you. It doesn't actually mean that you're guaranteed your first choice of type of room. So keeping that in mind, our application process, which we'll get to in a quick second, has to do with submitting your preferences of room type and residence. So we take all that into consideration when submitting offers. It is just a clarification that we guarantee you a room on campus. We don't necessarily guarantee you your top first room. It is always pending availability.
You don't need to have accepted your offer of admission, but you need your UO Access identification to log into the housing portal. You must select a minimum of 3 preferences with a maximum of 7. And it's important to choose different rooms, different types of apartments and such. Like choosing 90U with, no, 90U is not a good example. Man with a meal plan, or choosing man with a 5-day meal plan, or man with a 7-day meal plan. It's not really 3 different choices, because the meal plan is not what will give you the room of choice. So different options is always better. Our applications are processed on a first come, first served basis. We recommend that you apply as soon as you can. And
when it comes, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to mention that the portal is going to open next week on March 23rd at 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
Yes, and so that point is important. So some universities go through a lottery system as to who gets assigned first. We're very much still based on a first come, first serve, still within the priorities of students. So the reason why we have our portal opening here in March next Tuesday is for students with a guarantee to submit their applications as soon as possible. And we go through assigning students with a guarantee before we consider students without a guarantee. Within the application portion online, we ask certain questions about yourself, your lifestyle, and we offer a space for you to put names of a roommate. So for example, if you do have someone that you'd like to live with and you know their names, you and them would be submitting your applications in which you have the name of each other on it, and we'd be processing that matching of the two roommates quite rapidly. It's important that you apply at the same time similarly. So if you apply now with the roommate, but they're not applying until May, by the time we get to assigning your room, if your roommate's not there, it might be difficult for us to put you together in the same room. So we highly recommend that if you have someone that you'd like to live with, you put in their names and things at the same time. But back to our priority, when we ask questions about information on your application portal, it's to make sure that if you don't have a roommate, we also match you with the right roommate. And this is for guarantees and non-guarantees as well. So keeping that all in mind, our first come first serve is still based within our priorities. If, as a non-guaranteed student, even if you were to apply on Tuesday, first thing in the morning, we're still going to prioritize our students, our first year students with a guarantee. And then should there be availability, we'll move to that. So that's sort of, stepped ahead. That's what's written here. So any students who does not have a housing guarantee. If you're a second year student, a graduate student, someone with advanced standing that puts you as a second student, even though it's your first year on campus, then you're still welcome to apply. But keep in mind that as we're prioritizing all of our first years coming to campus for the first time, we'll only be able to issue housing offers to non-guaranteed students on a first come first served basis as soon as we've assigned all of our first year students. Anything to add to that, Val, just before we move on?
No, I think you covered a lot. Thank you.
Just again, conscious of time, I'd like to get to a few of your questions, and we only have a few minutes left. So like Valerie mentioned, Tuesday, 9 a.m., reserve your spot in residence on our housing portal. So you'd use your uOttawa access to open UO zone. So things that you've gotten, information that you've gotten through your offer of admission. And you open the portal, you put in your minimum 3, maximum 7 preferences, fill out the questionnaire, put in your roommate if you have one, answer the questionnaire, and we'll match you with someone if not. In between now and then, you can head to our website, look at all the details and determine which residence is the best for you online.